What do a millennial and a pastor from Gen X have in common? Not much, but they love the Lord and they love life. Join us as Justin and Sam look at the lighter side of Bible, church, and life with Making Light of It.
And welcome back to episode number 17 of Making Light of It in Espanol.
17.
17. 17.
Say you added an A. Yes.
What is it?
17.
17.
Yes.
What did I say?
17.
It's a lot more rhythmic.
Yeah,
It's
adding
going.
more twang to it. Yeah.
I thought the
You're the
Latino
rapping
thing had to have a little like flow to it, a little rhythm,
Okay,
a little
okay.
la cuca.
Yeah.
17. Da, 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 da.
I don't know if I should be entertained or offended.
Yes, all the above.
All
right?
the above.
All the
Entertainingly
above.
offended.
It's totally fine. Episode 17, we're coming close to a milestone of
Yeah,
20.
dude,
That'll be pretty exciting. Getting through these hot summer months. It is
true.
It is super fun. We just came off a week with young Bella joining us.
Gave me life in my older age. Having young life around, it made me so young.
Okay, so let's talk this. So we're in two completely different phases in life.
Yeah.
You have a young girl just going into kindergarten.
Yep.
You have a preteen who is pre-teening. That's just the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a completely different phase where I have one son who's in college.
Yeah.
One who's got 1 year left before going in. He's all over the place during the summer. So like barely see them. I'm getting very close to that like empty nest kind of thing.
Wow.
Now,
Dreams.
fully, yeah, well, it's like that. So here's the question. You said the youth gives you life. Does it?
After a certain age, it's like it's just stagnant, still waters.
So
Okay. No.
the benefit of having Bella with us last week was it was just for a brief moment.
Yeah. That's a good point.
One of the things that common happens, like I have a lot of little friends at church. One of the common things that people, everyone's little compared to me. The young kids in the church are my friends. They're my buddies, my pals, and particularly just a couple young girls who come in and we say hi and they show me things like the toy they're bringing in this week or they had a new baby sister, so they're showing me this. Like it's really neat to have a relationship. So I'll be sitting there, I'll be messing around, we'll be playing, talking, and people are like, "Don't you wish you had a girl?" And I'll be like, "No, not in the slightest." Is it the beauty of being friends with these kids? Is they go home, and it's not mine.
Yeah, I get that.
Bingo. I tell everyone all the time, I had boys on purpose because they have less emotion.
Yeah,
I
is
chose that.
a fact.
It is a
Being a
fact.
girl dad, very emotional.
You're a
man.
great girl dad.
Oh,
though.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. I try my best. I'm
I got a couple nieces out there, so I get a little bit of the glimpse, but I haven't had to live in a house with it. Plus,
whole different world.
I believe I'd be broke, more broke than I am.
Yeah, I don't know how I survived.
I see how my wife is with girls in her life, and I'm like, oh goodness, I'm so glad one of them isn't ours.
It goes from like $5 Five Below toys at a young age to the preteen phase is now like I want sushi. I want boba. I want Starbucks. And, then you catch yourself like, I want you to get a job. And it's like, well, I'm only 13. How can I get a job? Like, you know what? You teenager.
And then you're like all the way to getting boba.
All the way. Like, sometimes I'm really hard on it. I'm like, no. And then there are moments where, like, probably tonight is one of those nights. Well,
right.
I'm going to go eat somewhere because I'm not cooking tonight. So you get what you want tonight.
Winner, literal Chick-fil-A dinner.
Literally.
Yeah, all works out there. So we are, this episode is being released during the Olympics. The Olympics just started last weekend. I love the Olympics. I don't always watch track and field, but I will for the Olympics. I don't always watch swim meets, but I will for the Olympics. I don't always watch volleyball, but I will for the Olympics. I do watch basketball, so I'll watch that for the Olympics.
And I'll do it for the Olympics.
Gymnastics? Not really. Even for the Olympics. No, I'll catch the highlights.
I like the, I don't know, I'm sure it's categorized in gymnastics, but when they're like jumping from ring to ring and pole to pole, you know what I mean?
That's called the ultimate ninja
That-
warrior,
Ninja
like
warrior.
climbing all across the
Like doing their little swings on the rings, and then they do the little flip into the pole, and they catch themselves on the pole, and then they flip around and flip
So
around and
You
flip around.
you put two disciplines together. So there are rings
Yeah.
and there are parallel bars,
Parallel boy, not perpendicular.
not perpendicular bars like last week.
Shout out to last week.
So yeah, they're parallel bars, which is kind of cool when they're flipping around.
Yeah.
So the girls, if I get this correctly, women have the parallel bars.
Okay.
The men have a bar. They don't have the two. So
Okay.
the men just have the one bar. And I don't think the women do rings. I think it's just the men that do rings. It's hard to tell all these things. But so as we're like getting into the Olympics, and I did a sermon a couple weeks ago tying into the Olympics. We're in this kind of summer series of like spiritual disciplines and a walk, and Pastor Sal's put a couple messages like that together. I get a chance to put one in, so I was like, well, how can I correlate and kind of stay with this theme of the Christian life and the Christian walk?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the Olympics are right here, so now I'm like, well, let's correlate the Olympics there. And I was talking with you the other day, and I think we'll bring it to the podcast because I think too often we have great conversations that don't make it on air.
Yeah, they definitely. That's 100%. We need a camera in our office.
No, we don't.
Yeah. No, nothing.
I'm not saying we both be fired, but we would not have a job.
Yeah.
Not true. We have a great time.
We do.
So in if you go through the Olympics, the origin of the Olympics is all the way back into Greece.
Yeah.
Or the early, basically the Bible times.
Yeah.
So it dates all the way back to that. And what they would do is they'd have competitions every other year among the Greeks. You had to at least speak Greek or be from a Greek territory, which at that time was pretty much the whole known world. It had been dominated. And that's so, yeah, it was all over the place. So the best of the best would come together and they would have competitions, racing, throwing things. They even had like poetry competitions and singing competitions, which everyone is familiar with because I shared that in my sermon. But so they have all these competitions, not nearly as many as we have nowadays. And the really unique factor about those Olympics, it was you win the whole thing or nothing.
Mm.
It was first place.
Yeah.
That was it. Just first place.
If you ain't first, you're last.
That's exactly it.
First or nothing.
Only the first place person got a prize, the crown, a special wreath, and that was all they won. Now, when they go back home to their city, to their town, to their tribe, or whatever it might be, the tribes, if you won,
Probably a Super Bowl
they
parade.
literally would build a statue in your honor.
Wow.
You basically live for free for the rest of your life because you are the best of the best right there.
Yeah.
You can pick him up.
Yeah.
Drop that. It was so shocking. So in the when the early epistles are being written, the Olympics were actually a thing. Like it was happening.
Taking place.
And so I'm going through and I'm trying to find out. Okay, so I knew the time frames correlated. I knew they happened at the same time. But then as I'm reading, I'm starting to discover some things. I'm like, Paul was a sports fan.
Yeah.
He used a lot of sports references
Yeah.
in this thing. And so I'm starting to go in a little bit more. And you get into Acts and start to discover, a little bit more about Paul's life and his walk. And, Paul was a tent maker.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's a really cool fact. When they would come together for these Olympics, when all the tribes, all the cities, all the peoples would come to watch the Olympics, there weren't hotels, there weren't motels, there weren't places. So people would come and they would stay in
The tents.
tents.
Yeah.
Guess who was a tent maker?
Paul.
So Paul, along with, was it Priscilla?
Priscilla and Aquila.
Yes, would have like this tent making business.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of those things that like it doesn't lay it out per se in the scriptures, but it makes sense that they would be making tents for people that were there during this time. And Paul, he's not just saying, "Hey, how's it going?" Tent, that's gonna be $5.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you going to heaven or hell?"
Right. Hey, I can make you a tent, but you gotta listen to me now.
You want this tent like 4x4? Are there going to be 7 saved souls in this tent or 6? So he's using this opportunity, one, to raise money for his missions. Like that's what he said. Like he did that so he wouldn't be a burden on anyone. He had his own job and stuff. So he's doing that. And then, he's preaching the gospel. He's sharing it with everyone out there. Not like some of these businesses around here. Like Side note. So there's a lot of businesses in our area that are owned by Christians and run by Christians. What's one of the dead giveaways when you see like their vehicle or something like that to know it's a Christian business?
You see like a Bible verse, or
The Bible verse,
stickers, or
a little Christian fish. Right?
yeah, the fish, yeah, the fish.
So just put that. Like, they won't necessarily be so overt, but they put the little fish on there, so it's kind of like
Instantly no.
So Paul probably had a little fish on his business
Something
card,
like that.
ready to go. But I thought it was pretty neat. But then when you get into it, you're like, all right, so Paul was around during those times, could very easily been making tents for people to show there. And then you start getting into his writings, and you're like, I think Paul was a fan. Now, he's smart enough to use what's going on around him
Mhm.
to reach the people around him.
Right, utilize his resources.
That's
what
it.
he's doing.
Exactly.
Taking
Like,
advantage of the time.
this is what they know. I can write about this and connect with them in that
Yeah.
way. I gave you a couple verses. Let's start with Ephesians 6:12. And I want you to see if you see any Olympic in this one.
Ephesians 6:12. It says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places."
So what sport do you think he's referencing there?
Wrestling.
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 Wrestling. Now, this is not, I happen to know for a fact that you are a fan of the drama series known
Yes.
as WWE
Yeah.
Wrestling.
That is, yeah,
Yeah.
my favorite.
You do enjoy that.
All time.
So I know very little about professional wrestling. When I was younger, it was Hulk Hogan. That's who I knew.
Yeah.
And then one time I was watching and Hulk Hogan's wearing all black. He wasn't ripping his yellow shirt and red pants.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is going on? Like, totally lost me.
NWO.
Yeah, no idea what you're talking about. All I know is I knew Hulk Hogan back in the day. I knew Andre the Giant, mostly because he played a significant role in the movie The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
So
Fun fact.
that's kind of what I knew that.
Yeah,
So-
so Hulk Hogan did what we would call in the wrestling world is turned heel. He was no longer babyface. He turned heel. He was the bad guy.
So babyface
Would
in
be the
wrestling
hero.
is
the
hero.
guy. People the crowd cheer for, and the
Babyface.
they
Babyface.
usually say they're like Hogan, Hogan, something to that effect. You know, and the fun thing, a lot of people don't know this, but they know it. Like they go along with the storyline. You know that guy's going to be the good. He's being the good guy. You just don't know the tech. Some people don't know the technical term. Babyface, yeah. And then the heel is the bad guy.
First
The people, the crowd goes.
First time I've ever heard Hulk Hogan and Babyface
Yeah.
in the same sentence.
Yeah, not the singer. He's just playing the role of babyface.
He's the heel.
He turned into the heel.
So they did have wrestling back then. You know the phrase Greco-Roman wrestling. So
Yes.
This is like actual wrestling. Like in, they're in wrestling each other like professional style. Now I don't know how many rules. I'm sure there were some rules set up in that, so it just wasn't chaos. Now I am not so much a fan of wrestling. WWE wrestling, I can't get into it. I'm not a fan of regular wrestling. Can't get into that either. But I did learn in high school, in college, because we did what classic college kids do. We took all our mattresses and put it in a common space and made ourselves a ring.
Yeah.
And then we
Got to.
partnered up and we were going to wrestle. We're just wrestling the pin. Like that was the whole idea. We're just going to go that. Now, when I was in college, I was a wispy. I was tall, 6'4", just string. Maybe I weighed $195,
Good.
but I was really athletic. I thought I could handle myself. I thought I was wiring up and get out of this. So I paired up with a guy who's a little bit 5 or 6 inches shorter than me, which should have been a clue right then and there. Like he's going to have center of balance. It's going to be there. The long story short, my heel has never touched my head since that moment. I learned very quickly that if you wrestled in high school
Yeah.
and you wrestle competitively, and then you take on someone who's never wrestled before,
You're taking him down.
you're wrecking them.
Yeah.
And I got wrecked.
Yeah.
It was not a long fight. My foot ended up on my head. I have no idea what's going on there.
My
I
foot could reach my head.
Barely tap out. I was pretzeled up.
Mission.
It was,
doing wrestling.
well, we're just going to pin.
Yeah.
And he made it so I couldn't move or breathe.
That's great.
That won.
Scary, but
So those wrestlers, now listen, to be fair, the WWE guys, crazy athletic,
stay through.
very talented.
Stay through.
The jumping off the rope is real. That's hard to take. At least I haven't been able to see the wires coming through there. And then the Olympic wrestling is there.
That's-
So when Paul writes, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood," there's an imagery for the Ephesians who are reading this thing who are well aware of the games.
What it is.
Yeah, so they're all in on it. I thought that was pretty cool. That was one of the things we pulled. And to be fair, it's a great spiritual truth, and that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Our battles day to day
Yeah.
are against things unseen.
Spiritual realm.
Yes.
cosmic realm.
And we have to be aware of that. We have to be alert to that.
Yeah.
And like we just went through baptisms a couple weeks ago in the church, and one of the things I'm stressing to everyone is like, look, when you get baptized, and you're making this public proclamation, like I stand for Christ, be ready to be spiritually attacked.
Yeah.
And that can come in a number of different forms. Like, it could be sickness, it could come in the form of an annoying person. Like you're gonna come under attack because you are making a public declaration. Like, I follow Christ, I identify with Christ.
Yeah. Don't be surprised when adversity comes along.
The devil's not going to let that go without noting. So I gave you another one written by Paul.
1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 and 25.
Yeah.
And
And see if you can guess which sporting event he's talking about in this one.
yeah. Let's see. So 24, it says, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable wreath." It's funny because now that as I'm reading that part, and we were talking about the whole crowns and things like that, and you get the image of seeing like, the Greek person and their toga or whatever with the, the floral wreath,
Yep.
looks borderline like a thing you eat for Christmas time. I forget what the name is, but I think about it.
Wreath.
A wreath. There you go. Yeah, great job. And then you see, I've always read this verse, and I'm just like, oh, wreath. He means like a trophy or something like that. But realizing, well, when we were first originally talking about this, you were saying you're behind me in your desk, and we're focused on our things, and we're talking, but we're doing our thing at the same time. And you're like, I think Paul was heavily influenced by the Olympics, and I snarkingly go, yeah,
What
it was
else?
influenced by the Olympics, right? Thinking like the Olympics are only from like, the U.S. started this or something. Thinking something along those lines. It's not that old. And then you're like, yeah, he really was. I'm like, the Olympics. You're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that was new to me. I didn't even like, I knew that they were stuff like that. Like, they were doing these things, but I didn't think it was like the actual Olympics,
Right.
Like where that's
where it
all
came
began,
from.
So it was pretty new to me. But then again, hearing the wreath, I think of, oh, yeah, they really did.
Mm-hmm.
Really did.
You can
compete
think
for a
back
wreath.
and think of those Greek statues and stuff like that, and they had the wreath overhead, and that was all they're competing for. And the beauty of this scripture is, like, that in a race they run, but only one gets the prize.
One, and then,
It makes a lot more sense when you start to figure out all these
That's
logistics.
how it literally was.
And so you have to, he says, so run that you may obtain it. So he's using this correlation of running, right, to like your spiritual life. Like, you need to run this race, this life race, as if you're going to win.
And you're not doing it in a manner of just do a good job at it. Like, just finish at least, No, win the race.
Win.
And the emphasis on they do this for this stupid wreath,
Yep.
a perishable thing, something that's going to wither away.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing this for a grand purpose of the kingdom of God, for saving lives for eternity.
Yep.
This is greater than that, and this is great. The Olympics is awesome.
Right.
This is awesomer.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's speaking to the crowd. Like, he's like, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. And like, this one particularly is in Corinth. So like, they hosted this thing.
Yes,
So they
this is
know
their
exactly
thing.
what's
Yep.
going on.
And I think that's, again, emphasis on why context is so important, because you can miss a lot of biblical truths and just understandings in itself if you don't understand or know the context.
And you get a little
Just like what we're talking about right now.
grip of what's going on with the time.
Yeah.
Things
Like,
kind
oh,
of liven
the
up.
wreath. Oh, that makes sense. Again, before, to me, it's just like, oh, yeah,
Right.
wreath.
So
translate the
trophy,
trophy.
the Christmas, what
Like
they
the
call it?
Christmas thing, it's one of the
circle thing.
Is that a wreath?
Yeah, just like it. Very similar. And then another reference to racing in 2 Timothy 4:7.
7, 4, yeah, 7,
4,
17. 4:7. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith.
So this is at the end of his life, obviously, and there's a little bit of reflection on this. I have finished the race.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's just kind of really neat for me to kind of look through. And, I'm a fan of the Olympics. And then to be like, oh, I think Paul is a fan of the Olympics too.
I agree
Now, if it is now you're on board and all that going on. Now that I've through the Bible, and then it's
That's right.
very hard to
You
very
bring
hard
your
to
case, and I went right along. Follow suit.
and it's kind of neat to think like, all right, Paul could very well have been one of those sports evangelists,
Yeah.
like right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
At
He,
the-
he was the FCA before the FCA was the FCA.
So I used to spend years with the FCA. Was working with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It focused on literally Christian athletes and reaching people through sports. And Paul was right there in the middle of
Right in
it.
the
Like
thick of it.
that is really cool, really exciting for someone like me to kind of see that
Like sports, it's biblical.
right.
If you're not a fan of sports, you're out of line with God right now. Get in your Bible and love sports.
Let's go. Let's go.
Never mind. I was going to go on a tangent. Never mind.
We can go on tangent later. It's definitely worth something. I just want to wrap up this whole segment with the 9:25. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. Like these guys that are committed to it, go to it. They do it to receive a perishable wreath. They work so hard. They dedicate their lives every 2 years. The athletes that we have now, like some of the stats I shared a couple weeks ago, they spend 4 years training to get to this one event, or 8 years planning to get. Like when you're talking to an athlete not in Olympic season, they're going to be saying, "Well, my goal is the next Olympics to make it," and that could be, depending on their sport and what they're doing, that could be 8 years down the road, and they're training.
And in some cases, they're training harder on their off season than in season.
Yeah.
When you're actively playing the game,
It's crazy. Like
it doesn't stop. And it should intensify when you're not
like
in the thick.
most of these gymnasts you see, they started when they're like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Like they're out there.
I think of like Rachel. She's been trying to do this. She's been working this up for
Rachel's local
Bernhardt. Yeah. She's been swimming for your high school career. You're not just thinking high school. You're thinking college. You're like, oh, I think I have the opportunity to maybe do Olympics. Let me try that. You're working your way for something greater.
Right. And the amount of time she spent in a pool.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous.
What is it called? Ribbed or whatever they would call it for your hands. What is it?
When it gets not ribbed.
It's grip, but it's like wrinkly or
get all wrinkly.
Yeah.
Prune.
There we go. Prune.
Fingers get all kinds of prune. We'll figure it out. We're not a water based podcast.
Definitely not.
So pretty cool. So we're going to shift here. I have no clean segue on this one. So we are going to do a little would you rather from the Bible.
I like that.
Now I'm seeing these things, so I'm able to share them with you. Unfortunately, Mayor Rob is unable to be with us in this episode. He has chosen baseball over us.
Baseball is life, but Robert, get your part.
Those Phillies are
sillies.
crushing.
They're doing well.
He gets an opportunity to go see that. So
I think a local member of the church was there and snapped a picture and sent it to us in a group chat. I don't know if you saw it yet, but he's snapping pictures away. And
that's
they're
hilarious.
There, they found each other in the stands.
Well, thank
He's
you.
had like 48,000 people, and they
found each other. Oh, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite, guys. Anyways,
we're just over here.
All right, so I got a couple would you rathers from the Bible that we can spend some time and talk about them. Some of them are really deep, so obviously I'm going to skip that. Skip that one. So let's go with this. It's a couple of the great battles of scriptures. Would you rather?
Mhm.
All right, one of my favorite dudes, Gideon. Would you rather be Gideon with the army of 300 versus 135,000? Okay, so think of that. Think that through. Think about Gideon in that position. Or would you rather be Joshua walking around Jericho?
Joshua.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. How so? That was quick. Like you really didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, Joshua, I feel like it was both are great.
Yep.
Not saying one is better than the other. One's better than
Both
the other.
first battles for both of them.
First battles for both of them. I feel like Joshua had a lot to it with the marching around, with the trumpets, with the walls of Jericho coming down.
Every day.
I wanted,
Walk.
yeah, perpetually walking around,
The
not seeing anything happen
all
until the
of
last
everybody.
day, but to just witness and then we think of the walls, every part of the wall. No, not every part of the wall.
Except for
There are areas where you can actually get into the seeing all that would be my thing. It'd be like watching a documentary.
Okay.
History Channel.
So you're going with hindsight, going at being able to see that moment. So for me, I'm looking at it from more like the perspective of from them individually, but before they knew what's going on.
Okay.
And the concept of going into battle with 300 guys and going against that.
Yeah.
And you're not raising a sword, really.
Yeah, no, that's
Like,
definitely a sight to
like,
see for sure.
So you're kicking out all these guys. If you remember the story of Gideon, he's like dismissing, like, nope, you drank the water wrong. It's time for you to go. Is anyone afraid? Okay, you can go home.
Go to.
Like, just that process right there. Oh, it would be, for me, it'd be terrifying. But then if you look at Joshua, like, he's ready to go. He just took lead of this group, and God says, just walk around in circles. I'm ready.
Sure.
Look, you said I can go and conquer them. Let me go. I got my sword. And wait,
Wow.
I've been the guy. Moses is gone now. It's my turn. Let's go. And he just said, walk around in circles.
Calm down, young man. I have
So,
a plan.
Looking at that perspective, I think I'd still go with Gideon, because at least, like, there's an anticipation of getting involved and active. To me, walking around, I'm like, oh, now hindsight, either one of them. dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
And didn't really. I mean, they got their hands dirty, like cleaning up the mess, but God did everything.
Yeah.
Both of them, God took the whole thing, took care of it all. Pretty cool.
Can't go wrong. Either one of it.
No, not in the slightest. Hey, let us know. Make a comment. Who would you rather be, Gideon or Joshua? All right. Next one. Would you rather have your diet be manna and quail, or locust and honey? So you are Israelites in the desert, or John the Baptist in the desert?
Give me the manna. Give me the manna.
So
Manna and quail.
we did talk about this a couple weeks ago with my brother-in-law, that manna had a little, maybe had a little sweetness to it. The manna and quail, yeah, I'm going that route too. Locust and honey, as much as I like honey,
Chewing locusts. I don't even care if it's Mike's hot. I'm not.
Mike's not honey locust.
Yeah.
I see it's the next branding coming out
Yeah,
there.
right.
The thing about these
So good.
locusts,
Have it with your locusts.
so if you're a youth director, so you've seen it. There's bugs out there. You can buy bugs to eat. You can buy worms to eat, chocolate covered.
Hey, Jinx.
Right in. They're out there. You can have them, but when you buy them, they're usually freeze dried. They're
Yeah.
dried out. They're not mushy.
They don't have their guts all just gooey in there.
This locust.
It's definitely
It's-
unless you sneakily get like the shell of the locust when it like molted out of it or something.
But then you're just crunching on shell. There's no.
It's like
there's
eating
no
the skin of the
protein
chicken.
in there.
It's still good. This is it, right? This no guts.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of that great cicada revival year. We had a few of them around here. It never really came like our way. I don't know if it's coming or if, like, we never really got hit with that.
Trees. I saw one on a fence the other day. Walking
Right,
the
but
dog.
we're seeing one. Like,
Yeah,
we're
not like
seeing
dozens.
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, that's
We're literally seeing these things.
Too.
That's we're not really getting a whole lot of them.
I'm not
They're
complaining.
No. Yeah, no, don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see, man, cooking up some quail, some manna on the side.
Totally. All in on that. Locust,
Let's
leave
go.
it, John.
Plus, the fact that getting the quail, like just walking out and bonking it on its head, is just flying right by.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about destruction here.
Okay.
Which would you rather go out? Like you're going out. There's like this is your
I'm being destructed.
you're being destructed,
Okay.
like destroyed, dead. Like
Rip.
no life is being taken from you.
Cool. Not cool.
Your two options. Yeah, definitely not cool. Is it going to be water in the flood,
Okay.
or the burning sulfur of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Water. I'd rather drown.
Drown?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't want to be burned.
Oh, 1,000%. I'd rather take the
I will
burn.
not take the heat.
Burn me out. Burn, because I'm seeing this.
a shock?
No. Like, I'm thinking
You're thinking
explosion.
I'm not thinking
Burned
instant.
out.
I'm thinking like sitting there in the fire.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking it was there to
All right.
bake the whole
So
city.
that
just
changes. That changes.
instant.
That,
Where the
if it's
drowning.
instant death upon heat, instant, take it.
Take it.
I will not want to drown.
But
it
if it
means-
was, okay, so
But if I had to suffer through
If we
some
equate
type of
that-
pain, not heat,
not heat,
let me drown.
it's going to be the drowning.
Yeah, I'll drown.
Have you ever almost drowned?
I've purposely tried to get to the point of seeing how long it took to get to that point. I never got to that point, never found out.
I think
But
we need to talk. I think we need to open something up. I'm not prepared for this.
Justin, you're gonna take a
This
sabbatical.
just went dark really fast.
No, as a kid, I was always curious, how long can I stay under the water?
Right, yeah.
And then at a certain point, you're like, well, how long before I like don't come back up from the water? Like, wait a minute. And then, curiosity kind of almost kills the cat.
Right on.
And you're just like, all right, well, let's push it to the brink of like, I can't even get up. Am I at the floor? Can I push myself up quick enough? Okay. And then you wind up just going up. You're like, all right, don't do that again. It was close, but I didn't get too close.
So I'm a former youth director.
Yeah.
And I've told you these stories before. Early on in my ministry, we'd have pool parties. I'd be in there swimming and playing games with them. It did not take long for me to realize this is not a good idea. Because what do teenagers want to do the moment they have an opportunity to take down their youth leader? They take them down. So we're at this person's house where the pool has a steep grade going from shallow to deep. It's real steep. So you don't have a lot of play on it. I'm coming back up. I got one student jumps on my back. Boom, I'm down. Now I'm slipping. I'm coming down through. That's fine. I'm trying to work this out. The problem is there's another student and another student. And now it's a fun game to watch Sam not come up for air. And I remember I got to that moment where it's like I am like not passing out, but it was right there. And the nice youth leader, Sam, I might have been pulling, grabbing, pushing, fight. I was fighting for everything to get air. Like it was no longer, there's no consideration of not hurting these kids.
Yeah.
I had to get air. That was the last time I ever got in a pool with any kids because I realized I am going to be a target. And there were many things I did not do because I knew I would be a target.
Yeah.
And I was not trying to get myself in that situation again. Water or fire, I think I would still, if it was slow, I'd probably choose water as well. So I feel like there's a peaceful end to that.
Yeah.
Just kind of
You can just
the floating. Speaking of the flood, the pictures that we show our children are so off base.
100%.
The little giraffes sticking their heads up out of it.
Hey, Noah, I want you to make a boat that can't fit all the animals, but it can, just barely. Make enough room for them to stick their head out.
What we're missing, like next time we paint, we're about to go through some major construction here at the church.
Ooh.
We're going to be creating some new Sunday school classroom spaces. I think we'll paint a realistic, Noah's Ark on there. So we'll have Noah's Ark up in the corner above the water and dead bodies just floating.
Yeah, that's it. It's a realistic picture.
That's what it was. And imagine all that water goes away. Like, what a hot mess that was.
Like, did they just... Oh, yeah, we'll go fart.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, there's a whole lot. Like, I want to do one of my preaching series. I want to do is what you missed in Sunday school.
Yeah,
because a lot of times we'll gloss over and we only get certain points and stuff like that. And I'm like,
I love Answers in Genesis. How we do it because they go
into it.
Those things that's like I remember teaching the Sunday school kids about like the Ice Age. And I'm like, wait, the Bible doesn't talk about the Ice Age. No, but you learn things that you can see, okay, that brought upon like these certain conditions after the flood and volcanic eruption and sun coverage and stuff like that. There was grounds for that Ice Age. And, cavemen. Like we talk about the idea of cavemen.
Right.
Like these things that, that's great. Do it.
Men who live in caves really is kind of...
Is what it was. Not the idea that they were just these dumbheads, but they were
Ice Age is not
trying to find a place to live.
Like people are putting these things in terms of millions. We're putting it in terms of like dozens and hundreds. As opposed.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot that is missed Sundays, and luckily we're blessed to be, a church that kind of realizes that in a sense, and the leadership realizes that. So the curriculums we choose kind of do help to try to navigate those gaps and whatnot. But
yeah,
I only do so much.
Some of the stories in the Bible are pretty violent.
Well, it's a lot of times Joyce is like, I really don't want to do this lesson today because I don't know how I tell them about JL just driving a stake in some guy's head, without the kids.
It's a one exception. She's all about.
She'll probably do that one for sure.
Like, girls, this is what y'all need to learn this.
Power, okay. Yeah, you're gonna talk about like David's affair in Sunday school, to fourth and fifth or first and second grade.
It's so crazy. But that's the Bible. That's the Bible.
That is.
All right, one last one. We're gonna stay on the ark. So you have two choices: live on the ark with all the stinky animals, or be stuck in the belly of a fish.
Both smelly.
Both very smelly. One, you have space to move around.
One,
I'm a little claustrophobic when I get in situations I can't move, and my guess is that belly of the fish is not big enough for me.
No,
I'm living with the animal.
It was for me, but yeah,
I'll swimming.
Definitely take the animal. I don't like things on my skin, so I don't really put lotion on and stuff like that, which is it'd probably be better if I did, but I just don't like that feeling. And I see people put face masks on, I'm like, I'll just feel it. So I would not like the slime of the belly of the beast. So I'll definitely go on the ark. I'll shovel poop and put Febreze air freshener plugins.
I spent time on a farm. Used to live near a farm. My grandparents grew up on a farm. Eventually, you don't smell it anymore.
I'm numb to.
And you get to be cool and walk around with them. Snow White, you're singing with all the animals, and they can join in the harmonies. They can become a tenor to your bass.
They're on the water, not in the water.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a great song, "Underwater the Fish Don't Stink." It's a Bobby song. It's an old song. Someone's gonna get it. If you get it, there's a song out there, and I can't remember. I think it's Bobby's World. "Under the Water the Fish Don't Stink." Wonderful, wonderful song. If you haven't seen it, you need to hear it.
If you get it, give an encouraging word in the comments for Sam.
Shoot it out to me. Make a comment. Say, yes, Bobby's World. I get it. That was, what's his name? Howie Mandel voiced that character.
Interesting.
And it's a great song, "Underwater the Fish Don't Stink," which is true. I have never smelled a fish while I'm underwater.
Very true.
That's, I think we've had enough to talk about. We need to get out of here so I can go watch some of the Olympics, get some competition.
Feed my kid.
Go Team USA. Go USA.
Hey,
All right.
that was good.
So ready to go. What did you learn on episode 17?
I say
Trace it, taste it.
17. I'll take it. What did I learn? I learned that we would both rather die instantly.
Yeah,
we would both rather die instantly, but if we didn't have to die instantly, we'd rather drown.
Right. Yeah.
We're both willing to die. Look at that.
If those are our only two choices.
Yeah, if there are only two choices.
Many
There's more options we might choose, but
like in my sleep, I'd rather just go to sleep and wake up before my spouse. I tell her all the time, I want to go before you because I don't want this life without you. Who's going to do my laundry? No, that was a terrible band reference.
You ever wonder to yourself, like, side note, if you die in your sleep, like, do you happen to, like, wake up right before you die? And just be like, I'm dying, and then die.
I haven't, but now
I have a curious thought, right? There's got to be somebody's had to study
I think that's why I set my alarm every day in case I do. At least someone will find me.
Set like 5.
Yeah, to turn this alarm off. I gotta come in here.
That is a good measure of security.
At least someone will find it.
Somebody will hear it.
The alarm's just constantly going off, and I'm gonna go. I just learned that you freak out about waking up before you die.
I think of some random things. The memory bank, bank in my mind.
Excessively random. That is a tunnel and a maze I want no parts of. Oh, you know what I learned? I learned that I don't want to go swimming with you in the pool because it might get dark really, really fast.
Yeah, we might both accidentally die or pass out at the least.
Just out of curiosity. Well, this has been a morbid episode of Making Light of It. We just made dark.
We did the opposite of what our goal is. Woo! Opposite day.
All right. Go Team USA. This has been Making Light of It, episode 17. I'm Sam.
I'm Justin.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Making Light of It. Please connect with us on Instagram and Facebook. You can find the links in the description of this episode. We would love to hear from you. Please feel free to email us at makinglightofitpod@gmail.com. And remember to like, share, or subscribe so you'll be notified when the next podcast is uploaded. Thank you, and as always, God bless.
And that's what happens when you go on a fly.